The Orlando Magic shot 32.5% from the field. Their best player, Paolo Banchero, shot 4 for 18 from the field. Their starting point guard, Jalen Suggs, went 1 for 13. And somehow, Detroit still lost. So no, this was not just a bad shooting night. This was not just one of those games in the playoffs where the home team just suddenly got hot and dominated the game. Actually, it was the opposite. Orlando didn't shoot well. Orlando did not play some perfect offensive game. And that's what makes this loss worse. Because when a team shoots that badly and still beats you by 6 points in a pivotal playoff game, that means the game was decided somewhere else. And in this case, the answer is simple. Detroit lost the possession game. And that's the case. I'm Rashid. This is Build the Case Sports. I'm not here to recap the game. I'm here to build the case. The Orlando Magic beat the Detroit Pistons 94-88. The Magic now lead the best of 7 first round series 3-1. Game 5 is Wednesday night in Detroit. And now the number 1 seed Pistons are 1 loss away from elimination. That sentence alone sounds crazy because despite their flaws, Detroit won 60 games. And again, they finished with the number 1 seed in the East. Orlando came in as the number 8 seed, even though we know they're much better than that. But right now, the Magic look like the team that understands playoff basketball better. Not because they're more talented, even though in some cases they are. Not because everything is falling for them, but because they're winning in the margins. And in the playoffs, the margins become the game. Here's my case. Detroit is not down 3-1 because Orlando is unbeatable. Detroit is behind now because the Pistons have not respected possessions. They gave the ball away. They let Orlando survive with bad offense. And they allowed role player energy to swing the fourth quarter. That is how you lose a playoff game that you absolutely have a chance to win. And honestly, that is how a number 1 seed ends up on upset watch, despite how good or how bad the opponent that they're playing against. Evidence number 1, turnovers. Let's start with the number that matters the most. Detroit, 20 turnovers. Orlando, 12 turnovers. That is an 8 turnover difference in a 6-point playoff game. That's the game. Not a footnote, not a small detail. That is the game. Because when you turn the ball over 20 times in the playoffs, you're not just giving away possessions. You're giving away control. And you're giving away rhythm. And you're also giving away your chance to set your defense. And against a team as potentially good as Orlando, that matters. Because even when the Magic are missing shots, they can still pressure you. They're extremely physical, particularly in the half court. They can still turn mistakes into momentum. They can still make the game much uglier than you even wanted. And ugly games favor the team that protects the ball better. See Detroit in the regular season. Tonight, that was Orlando. That wasn't Detroit. Now, let's talk about Cade Cunningham, the Pistons' best player. Cade finished with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Pretty impressive stat line. That's production. The problem is he had 8 turnovers. And that's the tension. Because this is not about blaming Cade for everything. That would be lazy. Because Cade is the engine of the Pistons. He has the ball the most. He creates the offense. He draws the most pressure. He has to make difficult reads. So yes, turnovers come with that added and inflated responsibility. But in the playoffs, your best player can not only produce numbers, he has to be able to control the game. So that's the next step. Because there is a difference between putting up a strong stat line and owning the possession battle. Cade was able to deliver points for the Pistons, but Orlando forced enough mistakes to make those points feel less damaging. And some of those turnovers were self-inflicted, which even makes it worse. But that's playoff defense, that's playoff pressure, and that's part of the game that Detroit needs to solve immediately. Evidence number 2. Orlando won without good offense. Here's what makes this loss sting even more. Orlando did not shoot well. Again, Paolo Banchero had 18 points on 4 of 18 shooting. He had shot a lot of free throws, though. Jalen Suggs had 5 points and shot 1 for 13. And the Magic shot 32.5%. On most nights, when your opponent shoots like that, you win. Especially if you're the number 1 seed and you take care of the ball. And especially if you're trying to even a series. Especially if you know that falling further behind in the series can put your season on life support. But Detroit didn't win. Why? Because shooting percentages does not matter if you keep giving away the ball. The box score lied. Or maybe better said, the box score told the truth. But only if you knew where to look. The story was not Orlando's shot making. The story was, again, Detroit's empty possessions. I'll say it again. 20 turnovers, 6-point loss, 3-point hole. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern. Evidence number 3, role player moments. Now here's another part of the game that matters. The Magic's second best player, Franz Wagner, left the game in the third quarter with right calf soreness. That could have been the moment where Detroit took control. And for a while, it looked like they might. They had the opening. One of Orlando's key guys leaves the game. Detroit has a chance to tighten up, steal momentum, put pressure back on Orlando. They couldn't follow through, and that's simply just not what happened. Instead, Michigan native Jamal Cain came in and gave the Magic energy with a driving dunk that made Jalen Duren look very embarrassed. A tip dunk, no less. The crowd got back into it. The bench came alive. Momentum flipped. That's playoff basketball. Stars set the ceiling. Role players swing the game. And Jamal Cain, props to him, gave the Magic winning plays when they needed them. Detroit needed to punish Orlando in that moment. Instead, Orlando found energy from its bench, and that matters. Because again, in the playoffs, it's not always the cleanest team that wins. Sometimes it's the team that survives the mess better. Orlando survived the mess for the third time in this series. A mess that Detroit helped create. Then late in the fourth, notorious Piston killer Desmond Bane hits a banked-in 3 with 1 minute and 16 seconds left to put the Magic up 92-86. And that was basically the emotional dagger. It wasn't pretty. It was not some perfect drawn-up masterpiece. But historically, playoff daggers do not have to be pretty. They just have to count. And for Detroit, that shot felt like punishment for everything that came before it. The turnovers, the missed chances, the silly fouls, the inability to separate when Orlando was struggling. That's the hard part. You can survive one mistake. You can survive a bad stretch. But when you stack empty possession after empty possession, eventually the game asks you to cash in. You have to pay for it. Bane made Detroit pay again. So what this means. So what does this mean for the Pistons? It means game 5 is not just about effort. It's not just about survival. It's not just about playing harder. Everybody says that after a playoff loss. Quote, we have to play harder. We have to want it more. And that's cool. But that's not specific enough. Detroit does not just need more effort. Detroit needs cleaner basketball, better spacing, better decisions, better late clock possessions, better ball security from the primary creators or creator, and a better answer for Orlando's pressure. Because if Detroit turns the ball over 20 times again, the season is more than likely over. That's not dramatic. That's math. So here's the verdict. Detroit did not lose this game because Orlando played perfect. They lost because Orlando was allowed to win ugly. They lost because the Magic protected the ball better. They lost because Detroit's best player produced, but did not fully control the game. They lost because role player moments tilted the fourth quarter, and they lost the playoff margins. And they lost because playoff margins do not forgive loose possessions. The Pistons aren't dead because Orlando is unbeatable. They're on the brink because they did not have respected. They are on the brink because they have not respected the margins. That's the case. Game 5 is in Detroit Wednesday night, and the question is simple. Can the Pistons play clean enough to make Orlando earn it? Because if Detroit protects the ball, if Cade controls the game, gets help from his supporting cast, if the Pistons can stop giving away free possessions, this series can still shift. But if Game 5 looks like Game 4, if the turnovers pile up again, if Orlando gets to win ugly again, then the number 1 seed is going home. And the conversation around the Pistons changes completely, from surprise season to playoff collapse. That's how thin the line is now. So let me ask you, who deserves the most blame for this loss? Is it Cade, JB Bickerstaff, the Orlando defense, the whole team for not handling the moment? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns like this, not just recaps, but actual cases, subscribe to Build the Case Sports. Because after every big game, we're not just asking what happened. We're asking what it proved. And this game proved one thing clearly. In the playoffs, the margins don't matter. In the playoffs, the margins don't just matter. The margins decide your season.